Alright, what's up guys? Jackson Abe here today, and today this is going to be the first installment of what I'm going to call the How to Train Your Grandma series. Now, we all know that strength training is extremely important for any age, any demographic, any population, not just your grandparents. Um, but why I wanted to call it this is because recently I've kind of just shifted my focus of how I want to approach the content that I'm creating, the videos that I'm putting out. As much as I love strength and conditioning, periodization, strongman, powerlifting training, all the good stuff, the nerdy stuff, when it boils down to it, I want my impact to be on people, and helping them create the healthy habits and finding a way to make strength training a regular part of their life. It's cool to help the athletes. It's cool to help people accomplish, big goals like competing in their first powerlifting competition or stepping out of their comfort zones and competing in something like strongman. But at the end of the day, helping people simply make strength training a regular part of their life, being able to take control of their health and their habits, being a leader for their household and their families and their kids, is ultimately my goal and my mission, to help the most people that I can in that aspect. Um, and one thing that I want to highlight in this video is all of this is extremely important for all ages, but I want to hone in on the older demographic specifically. Those over the age of 40. And I know that is not old, but truthfully, when we look at midlife, I think the average age nowadays is around middle 70 something, which is, divide that in half, it's late 30s, early 40s for a lot of people. And while we can definitely utilize tools and implement things in our lives to hopefully, prolong the life that we live, that's just the reality. That is the statistics. That's the data that is out. Midlife occurs, late 30s, early 40s. And so while that is not old, it definitely becomes paramount and way more important, especially once we get, past our mid 30s, and especially once we are in our 40s and our early 50s. We need to make strength training a regular part of our life. One thing that I wanted to talk about is, I've been reading a lot of articles, that I've, have printed out, some old books, just trying to compile some things of what I would like to say for this video to try to highlight the most important things I can, not keep this, or keep this, a little bit shorter, not too long. But one thing that I was reading was, this guy talked about how he had read a study, done at Wake Forest University, where they had 3 trial groups, and they had one. So the populations were older individuals, who were overweight. So they put them on, separated into 3 groups. One group was just dieting, so they changed the way they ate. Another group had their diet, and then they added cardio. And then they had a third group where they focused on their diet and then adding weight training to their routine. So 3 groups, they took data on all of them. All 3 lost weight, but the first 2 groups, being just dieting and then the dieting cardio group, lost weight, but they also lost muscle in the process, which is not what we are looking for, and is the polar opposite of ideal. The weight loss is great, but at the end of the day, if we are not combating that by adding more muscle tissue, or at least preserving the muscle tissue that we have, we're in trouble. And then so the study talks about how the third group lost the most amount of weight, yet they also increased their muscle mass and their bone density. We know as we age, we tend to lose muscle mass, and our bones start to dissipate. They start to get a little frail. And this is why you tend to see old people, are really fragile, they're really weak, they're low on energy and things like that. And it is simply because their bodies are shutting down. Their bodies don't have the proper A, fuel in them, or B, the muscle mass to keep them going. Muscle is a very expensive, metabolic demand of the body. In order to maintain your muscle mass, your body is constantly breaking down the fuel that you give it and finding resources in your body to keep that muscle mass afloat. So when we become sedentary, if your body senses that it doesn't need this muscle, then your body will try to dissipate the muscle, because it doesn't want to have to continue, churning, burning the gas tank to fuel the muscle. So not only is the muscle there to obviously protect us, this is what actually really helps keep our metabolism in check and make sure that we are functioning properly. And a lot of the systems in our body are operating the way that they need to. Muscle is imperative. It's not just for, big muscles and show and, biceps and big, all the muscles and whatever. It's not about that. It is about ensuring that we can stay active, that we can stay moving, that our bodily systems and functions stay in place, as we age. This is extremely important. Um, we just, like I said, we tend to lose muscle mass and bone density as we age. We tend to get more sedentary, less active, where we go outside less, we're around people less, we tend to just do less things. And we wonder why, a lot of the older population people get the way they do as they age. And it's because of the decreased activity, the decreased strain in the muscular system, improper fueling, and the sedentary lifestyle. These things all add up and play a very large role into why we end up the way we do towards the later stages of life. And simply adding in weight training, strength training, is going to combat all these things and provide us with many, many, many more benefits as well. Strength training tends to release a lot of positive, per se, chemicals, into our body and our bloodstream and our brain, that fuel not only, growth of our muscles, but growth of our mind, the health of our bodies, like the health of our inner systems. Weight training has these kinds of positive effects. It's done with studies. This is a really good book that I wanted to quote a lot of things from. As you can see, I have some bookmarks on pages. Forever Strong. Hold it up real quick. It's a really good book, and it's a really good resource that talks about why building and maintaining muscle mass is so crucial as we age. And I wanted to post a lot of quotes from this, but this video is already getting kind of long as it is. But as you guys can see, there's a lot of evidence, there's a lot of resources out there that point in the direction of why weight training specifically is so important for older population individuals. It is, and like I've already said, it is important for every single person on the world. It doesn't matter what you do, who you are, where you come from. Weight training serves beneficial for every single person. I just wanted to create a series that highlights why it is important for the older demographic, and then in the subsequent videos that are going to follow this video, I'm going to dive into specific exercises of what I did personally to train people that were older than 50 years old, the approach that I took, the assessments that I did with them to find where they were at so I could meet them where they were at and devise a program to eventually, obviously, progress them in the right directions with all the movements, sticking with fundamental movement patterns, that are going to translate to real life, squats, hinges, presses, pulling exercises, carrying exercises. All of these things are important because they are going to utilize them on a daily basis in their everyday life. They don't need a barbell back squat, but they need a squat in some form of sense, right? And then we're going to talk about that in some of the videos, but we need to make sure that what we're doing in the gym with these individuals is going to have transfer to their everyday life. It's cool to do all the flashy stuff or try to do the gimmicky stuff or record videos of them doing stuff and put it on Instagram like, hey, look at how this 60-year-old grandma can do this. And it's not about that. It is about ensuring that they build the musculature to support them in their everyday lives to continue doing the activities that they are already doing on a daily basis. Just being able to do them much more functionally, if you want to call that, but really it's just under much more voluntary control, because the muscles are going to allow them to move in the way that they want to. They're going to be stronger in those positions and those movement patterns, so they're not going to struggle nearly as much. That is one of the biggest things of training older demographic people, was getting the feedback from them that this shit was working, that they were seeing the real life results. For example, one of the grandmas I trained told me that she never was able to get on the floor with her grandkids before. And then after about a month and a half of us training, she saw her grandkids, and without even thinking about it, she said, I just got on the floor. She said, I haven't been able to do that in years. And then I had another one tell me, and this other one as well, but I had, all of them tell me that it became easier to walk up a flight of stairs, consecutive flights of stairs without getting out of breath. One of them told me that the people that her coworkers in her office noticed a difference in the way that she was walking, the speed at which she was able to do the same tasks that she had already been doing in her job. These things are extremely rewarding, and to me, it is one of the best aspects of my job, is working with these older people and hearing that feedback from them that it's working. They're seeing the difference made. Life is becoming a little bit easier for them. They're able to move in a way that they want. They feel in control. And all of these things lead to more and more positive effects. All of these other aspects, like living a sedentary life, losing out on muscle mass, not fueling yourself properly, will lead to things like Alzheimer's, dementia, all-cause mortality, all these diseases. But weight training provides the benefits to your body to combat all those things so that you can continue living a healthy, a happier, longer life. Like I already said earlier, a lot of people tend to have less social interactions as they age. Weight training can kind of provide you a purpose, especially if you seek out a trainer. Maybe you join a big group to train with on certain days to help hold you accountable, but whatever it is, you can develop a sense of purpose, but B, a sense of community as well if you surround yourself with the right people. And this can add to the mental state as well, because like I said, as we age, we become sedentary, maybe dementia or things like Alzheimer's set on, and we have these really negative thoughts or maybe confusion, lots of just negative detriments. But working out, like I said, combats that. It provides our brain with nutrients. It provides our brain with positive chemicals that are going to enhance our brain's function and capabilities. So not only are we going to prevent things like Alzheimer's and dementia, we're actually going to improve our brain's activity and the ability to function on a daily basis. And all of these things compound to not only provide us with a healthy body, but a healthy mind, a healthier mindset, a healthier mental state, a more positive mental state, things that we can always look forward to, and just staying positive, because all those negative thoughts, all those negative things that you fuel yourself with, or that you place yourself around with, have an effect. And all of these things lead to, where a lot of people end up towards the back end of life. And I think if I can try to do one thing, it's to try to prevent that for as many people as I can. I would rather a lot of people get to the end of life and say, that they're happy that they took control, that they stuck with the discipline to, enforce the habits of weight training and fueling themselves properly and sleeping, and surrounding themselves with the right people. These things are all important. They all add together. And I'm really excited to create this series for you guys. Like I said, the subsequent videos are going to be about individual exercises, why I did them, how I go about them, with the older population, and why they're so important, and why you should, as a trainer or a coach, or even a son, or whatever, a brother, share it with someone that can benefit from implementing weight training in their life and how to go about it in the right way. But at the end of the day, it's all about just moving your body, getting out there, and trying to prolong your health as long as you can. And my hope is that all the videos that I'm putting out can at least help one person do that. So if you had any benefit from this video, I ask you to please share this video with a loved one or a family member, or spouse, grandparent. It really doesn't matter. Share it with somebody that can benefit from this information. Again, I want to share some resources. This is a book that I get a lot of stuff from. There's a lot of articles that I can put in the description from Elite FTS that I have printed out and highlighted, just talking about important things on why this is so important. And I think that anyone can benefit from watching this video, and I would greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to share it, like it, and if you have any questions, shoot them down below. Shoot me an email at abestrength@gmail.com, or send me a DM on Instagram. I would love to help. If I can provide any additional information or any guidance or assistance along the way, please reach out. I would absolutely love to serve you in this process and help you along the way, because at the end of the day, it's just about helping people get better and make strength training a regular part of their life. So thank you guys for watching.